Worldwide parent coach and conscious educator Sue DeCaro is on a mission to revitalize the joy in parenting. Welcome to Conscious Parents, Thriving Kids, a podcast designed to help parents all over the world create deeper connections with themselves and their children while overcoming life's daily parenting challenges. Listen in if you want to bring more laughter, love, and enjoyment to your home life.
Welcome to Conscious Parents, Thriving Kids, a place for all things parenting. I am your host, Sue DeCaro. I am so excited to introduce my special guest today, Steven Posner. Steven is a producer of Brain Matters, a groundbreaking documentary film that explores the development of the brain in early childhood. Steven has been deeply involved in all aspects of the film's production, including financing, story development, production leadership, marketing, partnerships, and distribution. Prior to his work on Brain Matters, Steven co-founded and served as Chief Business Officer of Future Lighthouse, a leading international virtual reality storytelling studio. Steven, welcome. I am so excited to talk with you today on this episode.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here, and thanks for having us, giving us a chance to talk a little bit about Brain Matters, which I think matters to everybody.
I think it does. You're absolutely right. So let's dive right in, because I am so impressed and so excited about the fact that you're inviting the world to look at and rethink how we are raising and educating all of our children so they get the very best start in life. Can you share a few things that are really important in not only the documentary, but in what you believe in terms of getting children the best start or giving children the best start?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest thing for me, having gone through the process of the documentary and the learning that we've had, is that there are these early years, depending in what country it is, it could be the first 2, 3, 4, 5 years, are really absolutely fundamental for what happens in the future of that child. Why? Because it is during those early years that literally the foundation of the brain is physiologically built. So what a child experiences during those years is absolutely fundamental for what how their brain develops and grows. And I think these experiences have been researched and analyzed by a lot of practitioners, a lot of scientists, and I think to many parents it would come to a surprise as to how important those years, sort of these years when kids can't really talk, can't really interact that much, that's actually the most important brain building time. And there's others in life, but in terms of what happens in those first few years is absolutely critical for laying the foundation for what happens next. And I'm happy to go into a lot of the little details there, but it really is that this is the miracle years. This is a moment where we can change the course of things, and I think if parents just really understood this, there's a lot of things that are in their control that are very easy, that are very simple and very impactful.
I love how you describe it as the miracle years. Wow, that's so such an important way to look at it. And so you're not really just talking about parents, because caregivers, even teachers, preschool teachers, or I know my kids went to Terrific 2 programs. So these early years are years that are affected by not just the parents in the home, but others as well, correct?
Absolutely. It's and this does get highlighted in the documentary. Like at a very, very young age, obviously the kids recognize and smell their parents, but it's almost any person that interacts with them in a certain style is helping them dramatically in their brain development and their social development. So you're totally spot on. I mean, parents and caregivers have a key role, but anybody that interacts with that child, brothers, siblings, friends, anybody in the public actually is contributing to the development of that child in a good way or a bad way.
So you mentioned any person that interacts in a certain style. Can you share a little bit about what you see that style, so to speak, to look like? A little bit of insight for our listeners.
Absolutely. So this, and it's been researched a lot in the Harvard Center of the Developing Child, there's something called serve and return response, which is just having an interaction, eye connection. If a little baby goo-goos at you, and you goo back. It is they serve up an interaction and you respond to that interaction, either with sounds, with words, with emotions, with connection. So person to person direct communication. Also, which I think is very much in the theme that you're committed to, in the theme of conscious parenting, is really showing up in a way that you're showing up for them, not for yourself. And that type of interaction where you're conscious of what you're doing and how you're showing up with your child, to be able to sort of connect with them on their level. But the most simplest one is this idea of the serve and return interaction. And another one that I absolutely love, and we can dig in a little bit more, is really words. Words, 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 words. The kids in the first few years of life, obviously they can't speak, but they are registering every single sound, every single word. By month 12, a child is capable of distinguishing the sound of any single language on the planet. And then through experience and repetition, they start to hone in phonetically on the language that they're familiar with. So words are actually super important because it starts building the structure of the brain, and it starts making these connections between things in the world and themselves. And the amount of words that a child hears in the first few years of life determines the amount of words that they speak. And that starts to have a correlation with the reading levels when they go into first grade. So speaking to your child, narrating. In the film, you see a couple experts saying, if you're putting the dishes on the table, saying, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plates. We need 5 napkins. Or in the supermarket, let's get some yellow bananas. And, oh, what's that? An apple. Let's go get that apple. That narration, those words, a constant stream of words and sounds, is amazing for stimulating brain development. So there's a style of interaction, and then it's also the use of words is something that's really important.
I love that. And I think, one of the things I just want to highlight that you said, I mean, everything you said was so important, that conscious interaction where we are actually connecting, not just verbally, but with our own bodies in terms of talking with our child, no matter what age that child is, a little baby, just making that eye contact, being present with them, fully present with them, not distracted, but there for them and with them in every way, shape, and form.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And recognizing faces and understanding faces is also a precursor to language skill development. And this is something that's been studied quite a bit at Harvard. In the documentary, I think one of the segments that really touched me, there's this test called the still face test, where there's this woman with a probably 18-month-old baby, and the researcher instructs the mom to interact with the baby, and the baby's super happy and thrilled, and then tells the mother to look away and put on an expressionless still face and look back to the child. And the child is seeing the mother with this still non-expression face, and starts to get, uses all the tricks in the book to try to capture attention. And it doesn't work. And suddenly it's like the child gets very agitated and upset, and eventually resigns to the same expression that the mother has. Just the energy just disappears out of her, and she just kind of plops down. Then the doctor asks her to re-engage, and you see how she snaps back. But it just shows you how you show up, your expressions, being conscious of your expressions when you're interacting with your child actually influences them in a way that you might really not be aware of. And that's why it's so important.
I didn't know all the history behind it, but I couldn't agree more. I mean, kids really do take our energy on and feel our energy. They're like little sponges, unaware, right? Unaware of what they're actually doing, but certainly very aware of the energy in the room, the energy around them, and in front of them.
Absolutely.
So let's touch a little bit on the environment. I'd love to talk about the environment, a little bit about nutrition, healthy brains from a nutritional standpoint. Can you shed some light on that,
Yeah.
on those two areas?
So environment, what do you mean by environment? So I'm answering correctly.
So how can we structure the environment for our children that is best serving them. From the things that we purchase or the things that we have. I mean, I know raising kids isn't about buying them every toy. From 0 to 5, we don't have to have mass amounts of toys, right? And many can't even afford mass amount of toys. We used to play with boxes when I was a kid. So, what are some of the things that are safe and helpful for brain development in terms of having around the environment, for play?
Great. So I think the first thing is what you should not have, which is devices.
Mm.
I mean, it's like I think everybody probably a lot of your listeners are in that camp, but obviously we all at certain points in time need to use the devices as babysitters, but be super conscious that devices are probably the worst thing that you could provide a child in these early years. The types of things, it's really, I love the way you phrase in terms of environments, because it really is less about things and it's more about the spaces that can create a style and a type of interaction. Obviously, things that are set up at the height and you've got these beautiful little tables. But when you look at really groundbreaking kindergarten schools or preschools, it's not about having a lot of money in there. They just set up these play areas, thematic play areas, and everything is really thought of from their vantage point and their perspective. Anything that encourage sensorial and interactive play. So anything that teases the senses and touch and smell, things that allow you to pretend play in things in real life, because kids are fascinated in understanding how the world works. So little areas like that has little kitchen, costumes, dressing up. But I think, to me, the important takeaway, at least as a parent when I saw the film, is that to a certain degree, it's the environment matters, but what matters way more is the attitude. And it comes back to the whole interaction thing. The laundry room in your house could be an amazing place to interact, because you can sort laundry. You could start laundry as textures, is just a universe of textures. And then you got silk, you got wool, you got Velcro. That is an amazing world to play. So I would almost encourage a lot of parents to really think about the world is the perfect environment. What needs to happen is just the mindset of seeing how there is play everywhere in terms of an opportunity to develop.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, that's such a great point. I just want to highlight again, because I think sometimes we think as parents, oh, we have to do the laundry, when the kids are asleep or the kids are occupied or we turn on a device. And yet when we can include little ones, very little ones, in this process and them be part of it, it's number one, connecting, but they're learning so much.
And I want to put in a little plug, because one of our collaborators is an organization called Mind in the Making, that's part of the Bezos Family Foundation, and they have an amazing app called Vroom, VROOM. And it's a very simple app that gives you tons of tips and ideas of how to turn everyday moments into learning activities with your child. So highly, maybe we can put that in the show notes, but highly recommend that app as something that just makes parents realize, oh my God, I can do this while we're shopping. I can do this while we're waiting for the bus. I can do this in everyday interactions.
I love that. I will make sure that is shared. Vroom, excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Sounds like a great app, and I'll look at that myself.
So on the nutritional front, I think, in sort of a little bit of constructive criticism to ourselves, I think as far as the documentary is concerned, I think we're quite underserved in our discussion of nutrition in the documentary itself. We do have a lot of footage, but that didn't make it into the final cut, because since it's a global film, there's a lot of nuances and sensitivities towards different dietary recommendations and cultures that made it very difficult to say, hey, this is the right thing to feed kids. I think there's a lot of unanimity in terms of what's not good, that clearly breastfeeding, if possible, and that does come out in the film, is very important because of the nutritional value of the breast milk from the mother, but also the emotional connection that gets established. I think principles, of once you start introducing other foods, the degree to which you can, and I think this is true for almost everyone, real foods, whole foods, limit the sugar. After teeth are coming in, milk is not as important. If they're getting milk from the parent, that's the important stuff, not from a cow. Milk from cows is designed to, grow a little cow 1,000 pounds in a year. It's not designed for human consumption genetically. So I think eating the rainbow, getting kids used to eating lots of colors, lots of flavors, lots of textures, versus being really focused on just the things that they like. You set up certain patterns that then it becomes difficult to move away from the rice, the pasta, the pizza. So the principles that I apply to myself is, try to, and again, this is for the whole family. It's almost like try to reduce the white stuff, sort of sugar, dairy after a certain age, starches, carbohydrates, focus on colors, lots of variance in fruits and vegetables and high quality proteins. And I think with those things, you've got like the great basis for an excellent diet for the family. And again, similar to a theme that we started at the beginning, it's not so much what you feed your kids that matters. It's also how the family eats, because that kid is registering everything that is going on. So if, you're feeding the kid, this wonderful, little organic puree that you've made, but you run over and then have your own, bag of Doritos, they're getting conflicting messages. And they're registering that. They're going to want what you're eating. It's like that crunchy stuff with a colorful thing. That looks good.
Sounds good too, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And also, if I could add in, I think the importance of family meals.
Yep.
Oftentimes in our world today, everyone is so busy running in different directions. But at the very young age, starting the process of sitting down as a family, even if you're holding your little one and having that time together, then in the high chair, just having that connected time as often as possible is
Yeah.
also important.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think when you can, giving yourself the space to let the kids explore with the food. I mean, again, food, textures, smells, colors, you can create shapes with peas. I mean, when I was growing up, what did my parents say? Don't play with your food. It's actually, no, play with your food. I mean, be respectful. Don't throw it all over the place. But when they get older, they'll learn what you should do and not do at the dinner table. But I encourage people, play with your food. Use it as a great moment to share, to give. It's like, give a little bit to me, I give to you. Oh, let's count your, strawberries.
Mm-hmm.
Make shapes, make faces with fruits, with food.
That's what we used to do. Face plates. Lots of
Yep,
fun.
exactly.
Yep, lots
Yep.
of fun. Yep, that's how we got the vegetables and fruit. We made face plates and then we ate them. So yeah, you have to be creative. You have to be creative. It's a great way to bring food to life. So I would love for you to share a little bit, again, with our listeners about where they can learn more about this incredible movement that you've been part of in the documentary Brain Matters, and really to get involved. What can they do?
Fantastic. Well, first of all, we went live January 29th. And not only have we released the film for free, so it's on YouTube. Anybody can watch it, and there'll be a link. To the film in the show notes.
Mm-hmm.
But we also launched a petition, a Change.org petition, sort of targeting the G20 heads of state and heads of state of the United Nations member countries, because all of these folks have made commitments to support early childhood development, and they're falling behind. So one thing to get involved is sign the petition. That's going to go a long way in bringing the overall agenda. In our website, which is brainmattersfilm.com, there is a resources section where there's short clips, there's materials to go a little bit deeper in the subjects. We connect to some of the sites that give parents different tools. If you want to host a screening, within your local community. There's tools and they're available to help facilitate that process. I guess our aspiration is for anybody that watches the film, and if they're moved by the subject, consider that the film is now yours. And take it on board, share it, have other people see it, engage people in conversations around it. And I think the website and our Facebook page, which is Brain Matters doc on Facebook, because we can use film. We're going to be posting lots of different resources and things. So I think that the best thing is, if you're interested in the subject matter, watch the film. It's going to be on YouTube. Sign the petition. On our Facebook page, there are a lot of resources, and the main website will also have tons of stuff. And I would encourage, anyone that is moved by this to, set up a screening, invite family members and people of your communities to get together to discuss how important this topic is, so you can see the impact that we can all have very easily and very quickly with our own little ones, and then the little ones of other people.
It's awesome. So there's so many ways to get involved, and I will make sure to share these in the show notes so all our listeners can just click away and move into whatever is speaking to them to be involved. It's an incredible documentary, having seen it in its early onset. I just can't speak highly enough about how important this is as well. And Steven, thank you so much for being here with me today and for all that you do in this world. It's really important.
Well, great. I mean, thank you for having me on, and thank you for supporting us in our mission to just get this out there and realize that we can all change the world by the way we change how we interact with kids.
Absolutely. And to the listeners, thank you so much for joining us. Remember, every moment is a new moment for conscious connections.
Thanks for listening to Conscious Parents, Thriving Kids. If you like what you heard, the best compliment you can give us is to share this podcast with a friend. And be sure to give us some stars and a favorable review at Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in.